Hi, it's Chris Lonsdale here at Ride Parramatta Golf Club. So for this month's mental tip, we're going to talk a little bit about success. And what does success mean for the golfer and how does that influence the way that they play? Now, obviously, we all want to start shooting lower scores. Everybody likes to shoot their lowest round, and we're all looking as we start heading out on the first tee. We all know that we want to shoot a low round that day. All right, but in terms of success and setting goals, sometimes setting a goal to shoot a particular number or under a certain number isn't really helpful. Like if you get off to a bad start, a bogey or a double bogey or something like that on the first hole, you start thinking about your score. Right? That's not all that helpful. What we're trying to do is stay in the moment. Now you'll hear that all the time, the golf commentators on TV, and you hear the players talk about it, staying present, staying in the moment. But that's really hard to do when you have this goal of setting a certain target for the day in terms of your score for the round. So instead, what I would suggest is rather than setting those targets, those outcome kinds of goals about your score, maybe start looking at and thinking about setting performance goals. So what I mean by that, an example of that would be rather than setting a score for the round or maybe even getting your handicap to a certain point, you might start looking at things in a little bit more of a fine-grained way. So here we've got about a 70 meter shot over water. Okay, and we all know that we call it the scoring zone. So if you start thinking about your performance in this area, so what percentage of your shots, for example, could you get within, say, 5 meters of the hole from this distance here, say from 50 to 90 meters. So during your practice, you might start setting goals for the number of shots that you can get within 5 meters, and then you start tracking them during your rounds. So over a course of a couple of months, you might have a percentage of shots that you can get from this distance to within 5 meters of the hole, and you might start looking at that in your practice. If you're happy with how you're doing in that area of your game, you might devote more of your practice time to another area of the game. But what it starts to do is if you start thinking about performance, rather than worrying about your entire score over the whole round, you start thinking about this individual shot and what does success mean for you on this particular shot. That helps you to stay in the moment, just like you hear the guys talking about on TV. So give that a shot. Start thinking about your performance and start setting goals about these individual sorts of shots rather than your overall score.